and Marie Crampton, our Mayor Pro Tem. We're starting off tonight up here in front because if some of you may remember, over the last few weeks, about the last couple of months actually, the City of Lamar has been looking for a seal to use for our official stamps, our official emblem, and as we've remade or remodeled our council chambers, one of the pieces that was missing that's very similar to a lot of other city councils was a seal. So Martha Alvarez-Baird, our communications manager, director, has created a new seal. We did get it approved back in, I believe it was August or July. And now we are going to release out our new seal that will be mounted here permanently. And so we're just doing a little dramatic thing. So here we have our new seal. So it's a nice wooden 3D seal that will be mounted up here underneath the dais for the council chamber. So it'll be a nice addition for our chamber. So we wanted to add to that. Let me get around for a minute to start the meeting. That was one of many exciting things that we have tonight. We do have some exciting announcements that are coming up tonight and a lot of different activities that we'll also be doing. It's a very busy meeting. If we do have, like I mentioned, we just recently had a budget meeting, a work session right before this meeting, and we were able to go through the budget with our city treasurer, and it is a balanced budget for 2022. As we go through this process, we'll get it approved in November as well. November, December, is that correct?
We'll do the first reading in October and the second reading by the end of November.
By the end of November. You know, setting up the budget for the city of Lamar takes a lot of work, a lot of communication with the directors, with the city treasurer, with the council, and I want to thank Kristen for all the work that she's done, as well as with the city directors as well. So with that said, you know, one of the nice things about our budget is we do have our new fund, our new enterprise fund that we're working on, which is our airport that we separated out and the city took over. And it's great to see that's been a successful undertaking so far this year. And we hope that it continues to grow along with all of our other departments that have been very successful over the last year as well. So with that said, we will go to the invocation. Galen, would you like to start us in the invocation?
Our Father, we'd like to thank you for taking care of us and blessing us, putting your hand of protection upon our city. Father, we are thankful for the little bit of coolness that we're getting lately. We ask for some moisture. Father, we ask for your leadership and your guidance upon our city council and our administration. Father, give them a lot of insight and wisdom as they discuss the different matters of business tonight. There's a lot of business that's very important. Father, we pray that you'll just be putting your blessing upon them and upon the workers of our city and upon our city itself. Father, we do want to thank you and praise you for your blessings upon us. And so we say this and we pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Oscar, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. The time is now 7:05. I will call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Joe Gonzalez.
Here.
Rafael Rodriguez.
Here.
Jerry Jenkins.
Here.
Kurt Crespin.
Here.
Oscar Riley.
Here.
Manuel Temez.
Here.
Anne Marie Crampton.
Here.
Kristen McCray.
Here.
Lance Clark.
Here.
All right, we've all had a chance to review the consent agenda. If you could take one and pass it down. Were there any questions on the consent agenda, or was there anything we needed to discuss?
Move we approve as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to move to approve the consent agenda as submitted. Are there any final questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
It's unanimous in favor of.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the audience participation portion. During this portion of the meeting, anyone may speak on any subject that does not appear on the agenda. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each, and that is at the discretion of the council. Is there anybody who would like to speak to the council that's not on the agenda tonight? Okay, if you could, come up to the podium and let us know your name.
Be glad to if I can make it.
Okay, we're patient.
Had a health crisis and ended up in the hospital in a week and don't have great balance, so it's good
Sorry
to
to hear
have a
that.
podium.
Sorry to
My
hear
name
that.
is- Thank you. My name is Ramona Brinkley.
Okay,
I'm married to Stan Brinkley. He's a judge. We raised our 2 children here, Krista and Jason. They're doing great. I won't go into detail. Jason's an attorney and a partner in downtown Denver at a big law firm. Got a great start in Lamar. Krista's vice president of a company in Omaha. I'll use up my 3 minutes. I did teach Lance when he was in 2nd grade. I see students. I saw Michael Palacio at some of the sad funerals with that Wiley incident. I taught Cade Zordell. My heart goes out to every family. I taught Macy Rowan. Such a sad deal. Anyway, I ended up in PMC in the emergency room. All I remember is it was dark and I spent many hours there. I would really like for Lamar to get an ambulance to go to Memorial Hospital or wherever people choose instead of waiting for an ambulance from Rocky Ford. Is that correct?
that I'm not sure. Is Jeremy still back there?
He's shaking his head, yeah.
I know we do have the Flight for Life and a few other
Well,
services, but you're
they
saying
didn't
you had to
choose-
wait?
They didn't choose me for Plaque for Life. I wish they would have because I sat in the dark for a long time.
Okay,
Anyway, I think Lamar needs that. I talked to a friend that ended up in Memorial Hospital in the Springs. He said, my wife drove me. Anyway,
Okay.
number
Okay.
2, because I don't talk, I talk all the time. 3 minutes is cutting me short. Okay, number 2, we live in Cedar Hills. And I moved here after Stan and I got married. He said, do you think you could live with me in Lamar? I thought, you know, you're young and in love. You think, wow, I could live any place. I could live any place with you. Grew up in Denver, moved here. Wow, no mountains. It's hot. Oh, no family. But we've been married almost 45 years and the people here are wonderful. Can't beat the people here. Can't beat BJ's and the way they've treated me since I've been home. Lots of places have been very kind to me. Anyway, we have purchased 2 homes in our almost 45 years of being married, both in Cedar Hills. One on one side, and then begged my husband to move to the other side. There were 4 of us, only 1 bathroom in the first house. Oh, please, Dan. All 4 of us need to use the bathroom at the same time. Anyway, the back side of our house faces 6th Street. And with all the construction on Main Street, which is very scary, I see a semi in front of me and a semi behind me. I pump my brakes like, slow down. Come up right on you and watched him at the Mission. And it scares me.
yeah,
I don't want to have happen in Lamar what happened at Wiley.
great.
That just breaks my heart. Anyway, I did have a friend say her mother contacted Kyle. My son Jason went to school with Kyle. I know Kyle very well and his parents, wonderful people. And she said, well, my mother went in and talked about more policing on Main Street and was told there was a shortage of policemen, which I can believe. I can't imagine how many first responders had to respond to that Wiley incident.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking, how about, please consider putting speed bumps. Or maybe, we have a driveway, our garage, our cars back onto 6th Street. they could park a sheriff's car, Officer Zordell, anyway, a police car or a sheriff's car in our driveway. Maybe people think, oh, I better slow down, because I'll tell you what, I hear jacked up pickups and mufflers starting at 4 o'clock in the morning on. And I had a friend tell me, I live on 9th Street, and I can hear the mufflers. I think, yeah, just think about us. Anyway, that's what I would like for you to consider.
Okay.
An ambulance out of the emergency room instead of waiting for one from Rocky Ford. Some help with the speeding traffic on Main Street and 6th Street. Thank you for your time and attention. I recognize most of you here today, and I'm so thankful to live in Lamar, and I love your new,
Thank you.
what do I want to say, logo?
Seal. City seal.
Seal. Okay, thank you very much.
Just a side note before you go. The ambulance service is something that we can talk about, but since it's third-party service, that's probably something we'll need to work with Prowers Medical Center on. I've started meeting with Karen Bryant once a month, and we've had this kind of a strategy talks and discussions, and I will bring this up to her as well, and then we'll have some more discussion with Jeremy as well. And
Thank you. She's
We'll
my neighbor,
try.
and I've expressed my concern.
okay, good.
So she didn't act like she knew I was even there.
Well, I was going to suggest that you contact her as well, so thank you, I'm glad you did.
I already contacted
Okay.
her, poor thing. She was
All
out
right.
mowing the lawn because Mike had surgery.
Oh, yes, okay.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Thank you very much. I would stay, but
You need to go get rest,
I
yes.
need to go get rest. Thank you very
Thank you.
much, everybody. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Brenda. Brenda and my husband went to high school together, along with She's cute.
Okay. Is there anybody else that would like to speak to the city council tonight that's not on the agenda? Huh?
Jeremy just wrote.
Okay. All right, moving on, we'll go to the city treasurer's report. Kristen?
I don't have anything tonight. I think I've talked enough.
Okay. The next item would be the city clerk,
And I also do not have anything tonight.
and then that leaves Anne Marie and myself for the city administrator. Anne Marie?
I'll let you take it.
Okay, so I do have quite a few different items on the city administrator report. As I mentioned, we had a few little announcements. First off, we do have the public meet and greet for the city administrator candidates. We narrowed the city administrator candidates down to 3. One of them is a local candidate. The other 2 are from Texas and Alaska. Very qualified, very educated individuals. We will start that process tomorrow morning here at the city council chambers with an executive session. We'll do the interviews. At the same time, there'll be a group of our city staff that will do peer interviews and a peer meet and greet. And then another group that will do a more of a social drive around the community to show them the different aspects of the community, our infrastructure, and what we have to offer for our community. So it'll be a very full day tomorrow, but we're excited to get the opportunity to meet the new candidates in person. Another thing that will be happening tomorrow, I'm kind of jumping on the schedule to the bottom. Tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., the McDonald's will be opening for the first time since they've closed for their remodel. I had spoken with the manager, and he had asked if we would like to go and visit to see their new remodel and see what changes they had made. I told him we would love to, and since we hadn't had a city council breakfast for quite some time, I had sent out an email inviting everybody to join us and to having a city council breakfast tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. at the Lamar McDonald's. We'll be able to see all the different work that they've done and improvements, and we'll be one of their first customers. So excited to see what they've accomplished there, and every investment in Lamar is greatly appreciated, whether it's a restaurant or the bigger fast foods or a business or some investment in you, even on your own property. Every investment is appreciated. Next item was the Cml Virtual Conference on September the 30th to October the 1st. CML is the Colorado Municipal League, and every year they have a conference for city officials such as city council members, city staff, and the mayors. We did have the actual conference that took place last week, and our council member, Joe Gonzalez, did attend that. So he'll give us a little update, hopefully, on our next session for the liaison reports. We have the Friends of the Library monthly book sale that'll be happening on October the 1st and 2nd at 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the library. On October the 2nd, we will be having the Lamar Chamber of Commerce will be holding the Oktoberfest. Lots of activities happening that day. So if you're in Lamar or in the area, please stop by and enjoy yourself and take a look, see what Lamar has to offer. CIRSA, our insurance company that we work with, is doing a training, practical tips for municipal leaders training called Doing Due Process Right. This will take place October the 6th in Denver or October the 13th in Pueblo. So it is available for any of the council members to participate in if you would like to. There is also a sexual harassment and violence in the workplace training that will take place on Wednesday, October the 13th from 10:30 to 12 in the Cultural Events Center. We have a Center Towards Self-Reliance, who is an organization that will celebrate their 30th anniversary on Saturday, October the 16th, 2021, from 1 o'clock to 3 p.m. at the Lamar Community Building. They did attach a flyer, and that's included in the council's packet for this. So very excited to celebrate their 30th anniversary. Reminder that the library will be holding a trunk or treat drive-through, and they're looking for volunteers to host a trunk for Friday, October the 29th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. in the library south parking lot. So if you'd like to participate, the deadline to reserve a spot is Saturday, October the 23rd. So please contact the library to get your reservation for that as soon as possible. We did have a correction from last month. The City of Lamar's holiday party has changed, and it will be on Friday, December the 17th, 2021 at the Lamar Elks Lodge. This is an opportunity for the council and the mayor and all of the city staff to celebrate the work that we've done over the year and recognize a lot of the members of our staff who have been here for many, many years. A very exciting item to finally see happen. This is a project that's been in the works for 2 to 3 years, quite some time. I'm excited to announce that there is a groundbreaking ceremony that we will be having on October the 6th at 10 a.m. for a new cobblestone, which will break ground and be built just north of the Lamar Inn, just south of the new scooters that just broke ground and just recently opened. So this will be a 54 Tuesday, October the 5th. Oh, it said 6th. It's correction. It's the 6th of the day. It is 54 guest rooms. It's a 3-story building. We do have the drawings and the specifications of that. I handed out to the council, and hopefully we'll be able to get that announced and shown over the next couple of days so that people can see this exciting new project. We're excited to see it happen, and we want to welcome Cobblestone into our community. So if you are available and out and about, please join us for the groundbreaking ceremony for new Cobblestone Hotel. Finally, last but not least, I wanted to take a minute with the council and have a quick discussion concerning COVID. Many of you have heard about the COVID mandates that are coming down between the new vaccination mandates and mask mandates. I know I myself have been cornered quite a few times over the last 2 weeks, and mainly it's been by our city staff that is concerned that what our direction would be and what the city will be doing in the next upcoming weeks and months. I had, similar to Baca County and some of the other counties, I had worked up a resolution and talked to Lance, our city attorney, and to the Mayor Pro Tem, Anne Marie Crampton, about this resolution. And we had considered presenting the resolution to the council, but I think I just wanted to, rather than trying to formalize a resolution, I think it's just, my whole intent was to get the information out to the city staff and out to our community of what the city council and what me as the mayor, what our direction is and what our intent will be. I don't think we need to do a resolution or make a big deal out of this, or we're not here to make a political statement. We're just here to advise our constituents and our community of what our stance has been. throughout the COVID over this last 2 years, it has been a nightmare at some times. And as the mayor, I've received comments, I've received emails, I've received complaints, had people in my office yelling at me, I've had people in my office in tears crying. And it's very difficult because on one hand, you have groups that are saying, this is our freedoms, this is our choice, we want our freedoms, we want our rights. And on the other hand, I have people that are in tears in my office because we didn't do enough and we didn't stop enough, and now their loved one or their grandparents passed away, and it's all my fault because I'm the mayor and I didn't do enough for them. So it's a very difficult balancing act for us as the leaders of our community. But it's something that we did over the last 2 years successfully, in my opinion. And what we ended up doing over the last 2 years is we were very blunt in our videos and our information that we sent out in saying that ultimately it's up to you as the individuals to take that responsibility, to do the protections you need to do, whether it's wearing masks, washing your hands frequently, getting the vaccination, staying at home when you're sick, whatever you feel is proper for you to do to protect you and your family. That's what the important thing is. And when it came to the mask mandate, I immediately came out and did the video talking about how, as a city, we do not have the resources to go out and manage and police and give tickets or pull people over if they're not wearing a mask, and we didn't. Instead, we left it up to the businesses to make those decisions. We left it in the hands of the businesses because it's their responsibility to take care of their customers and to take care of their staff. And we let the businesses choose what will work best for you, just like we did with the individuals in our community. Do what will work best for you and your family, and that's what we encourage, and that's what I want to encourage. So moving forward, that was my direction, but I wanted to open it up to the council to kind of get your opinion as well before we move forward. Mainly as the interim city administrator on half of the staff, and Anne Marie being the other half of the city administrator, interim city administrator, I think it's important for both of us to get direction from the city council on what you think we need to go. Because I don't feel there's a need to do mandates of the vaccination. I think educating our staff, giving them the opportunity, making these things available for them is enough to what we would do and what we should push and provide to them. But making the decision would be their responsibility for them and everybody else. So I'll start over with Joe. Joe, what do you think?
Well, Kurt, I can only echo what you had mentioned there. I agree with you completely. I don't want to make it a mandate for the employees or anybody here in Lamar to where we're going to force them to get the shot. I believe it's entirely up to the individual and to their safety and how they feel and how they want to proceed with that. And so based on that, I echo and agree with you on your direction on that.
Okay, Ralph?
I'm also for self-responsibility. If you want to do it, go for it. If you don't want it, don't get it. Just don't be belittling others. Don't try to force it on anybody. I would like to see a resolution going against any mandates that the state might require in the future. Just to start building up those cases with other communities that have started it with their resolutions to show the state, look, you can't be forcing stuff on us, make it a requirement of employment. But again, I'm for, if you want to get the vaccine, go for it. If you don't want to, go for it. That's totally up to you and do what's best for you. But I think as a city, I think we should go with a resolution.
Okay, Jerry?
To me, I feel that it's your body. If you want to do it, get the shot. I wear a mask tonight because I protect myself, but it's totally up to the person if they want to get the shot. I got the vaccine, and I wouldn't force somebody. I have a son I can't force. It's totally up to the individual.
Okay, Oscar?
I agree with everybody else. Leave it up to the individual unless the county health department recommends mask. The shots, that's a different story, but the mask, if the county would be the only thing, the mask maybe, but the shot, I would leave up to individuals. And as far as the city writing a resolution, it would depend if it would affect funding. from the state.
Okay.
And that's my opinion.
Before you start,
I
Jerry said
do
she
have
had
one more thing I'd like to say, though, is respect your coworkers. If you're sick, stay home. Don't come to work, oh, it's allergies, it's this, it's that. Stay home, because you don't know. And it's not fair to your coworkers. You give it to them, and they take it home to their family. So that's one thing I do ask. If you are sick, stay home.
Okay. Daniel.
Unfortunately, it has been politicized, as everybody knows. And as a, a city council, there are certain things that if the state brings things down, or even if any businesses decide to do things, we don't have any really ability to go against those types of things. I'm not, for forcing it on anybody. I think that every person should, the way I say it is, let it be up to your faith. If you believe that you need aspirin today, take an aspirin. If you think you need a mask, wear a mask. If you don't, don't. If you don't need an aspirin, don't take an aspirin. Let it be according to your faith, however you believe.
Anne Marie?
I think it's unanimous that the council has, is in favor of personal choice, as long as you protect others as you're making your choice. And I agree with Manuel, if have some faith in your situation and protect others as you do it.
And I agree and appreciate everything that the council has said. I get concerned because of the politicization of this and how it's become so extreme on each end to where it's almost a dividing force for our community. It shouldn't be. And the way we are approaching this, we're leaving it up to the individuals to decide what's best for them. And it's important for us to respect each other's interests and how we are dealing with it. And that means that we don't take it for an extreme and we don't tease or bully or give each other a hard time because they choose to do something that we don't agree with. But nonetheless, I think we're all trying to protect ourselves and our families as much as we can. And it's important for us as the council to try to do that. Because ultimately, when we talk about freedoms and we talk about our unalienable rights, the number one right and the number one freedom is the freedom of choice. It's a moral freedom. It's our, it's a freedom that's what we are giving you and providing you and ensuring that you have the freedom to choose for yourself what you think is right. So that's the stance I feel we need to take on that as well. So sounds like we are unanimous. We'll move on from there. We won't drag this out any further. Does anybody want to add anything before we go? Okay.
Well, I guess if there's any concerns that being a city employee that we're going to force you, I guess you can put that concern away because we're not going to mandate that.
No intention to mandate to the city employees. Okay? And we can work on a resolution that would be agreeable for the whole council that in the upcoming meeting. So we will work on that. All right. So we will move on to the next item on the agenda. Actually, the reports and correspondence from the council would be the next item on the agenda. So is there any council members that would like to talk about what they've done?
I've got something.
Okay, Joe?
I had the opportunity to go to Westminster this week to the Cml conference. They usually hold it once a year, but last year they did not have it due to COVID. So this year was extremely busy. There was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of individuals there at the Westing Hotel and Conference Center. It was very informational. The topics were very broad, and the ones that I chose I felt were a need in my community and stuff that I wanted to learn more about. For instance, this is one seminar that I took was tax increments and financing tools. Another one that I ended up taking was revitalizing your community using EPA Brownsville grants. The American Rescue Act plan, because there was a lot of questions about how to spend those dollars. So during those times, our community has seen struggles with housing and economic development. rest assured that the other parts of Colorado were experiencing the same problems. And they gave us a lot of case studies in other areas and how they combat that and how they've grown economically and how they have brought more housing to their workforce. Unfortunately, I felt it wasn't pertinent to Lamar because you can't put snowmass at the same level with Lamar, Colorado. And when I mean snowmass, their rental units are $4,000 a month. The average home sale there in snowmass is $2 million. So that was one case study that they use and how they bring workforce to Lamar, how they bring housing, and how they jump their economy. Once again, there was just so much information available. It's going to be virtual, so everything that I got to see, the council members will get to see. There was an app that we got to download onto our phones that guided us throughout every seminar that we participated in. I mean, it was very informational. I'm looking forward to next year if I get to retain my seat. There was a lot of individuals there, and I had a great time there. And we got to speak firsthand with a lot of mayors, administrators, and other council members. Just as well, another hot topic was marijuana. And that was so diverse in other communities. It was just amazing to hear how they combat their problems.
Okay. Anybody else like to report to the council?
Yes, one thing, actually a couple things. Rick, thank you for your crew for cleaning up that court for that little soccer league that uses it. Talking with them, he never said anything because he didn't want to be a burden to the city. Yeah, and it's just, I understand it's kind of hidden. It's kind of just was missed. I understand. And another thing is some concerns I've gotten a lot about sandburrs on city property. I know it's kind of like a citywide issue because I know I've had a whole bunch in my yard this year and they're just kind of a pain to get rid of. And I don't know if there's something we can do for next year. Do you know?
We order in pre-emergent and put that down, and we also order in a spray called MSMA that we spray on and try to get ahead of them. And the word try is
Yeah.
the key word there. We try, we do what we can, and that's a lot of grass, but we are fully aware.
Okay. Yeah, because some ballparks have quite a bit of them. The cemeteries, I know,
Parks.
they're just, and it's a,
You go to any location and you'll find them.
and if people don't know, sandburrs is a grass and it's very difficult to get rid of. So, but thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? As for me, I know I've worked with Morgan, our community development manager, on a few items, as well as Craig Brooks and Kristen McCrae, and we've worked on a lot of different projects over the last 2 years, and it's really nice. I can kind of report that we have some of them that are very close, right on the edge of moving forward. As I mentioned earlier, I'm excited to have this cobblestone finally break ground and start moving, but this is the first of many announcements that we have in the near future, we hope. And economic development wise, we have new housing projects that are in the works. We have new, with SECED, a workforce housing project that we're working on. So there's a lot happening in our community, and I can assure you that Morgan, our community development manager, has been really working hard to stay on top of that as well. So thank you, Morgan. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda is we have a presentation of Vail Board Plaque to Miss Jo Jaidon. First we have the public hearing for a new hotel restaurant liquor license for Melissa Falon, DBA La Lupitas. Of course, we had assigned this a few weeks ago to put this public hearing in as part of the process for them to obtain their new liquor license. So with that said, what would the council like to do?
We move into public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to enter a public hearing for the liquor license. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Okay, we are now in the public hearing. So first off, we want to do the proof of publication with our city clerk. Linda, did we get everything done in time?
So it was posted on site on September 16th, and it was in Lamar Ledger as well, September 16th.
Okay. Did you have any other opening remarks on this?
I do not.
Okay. Before we move forward, Kyle, have you had a chance to review this for the police department? Okay. All right, city council, did you have any initial questions for this topic before we move forward to open the floor?
And you did go through with your
Tips?
tips, thank you.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay, thank you.
I have 6 of my employees, including myself, that went through the process.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that said, we'll move into the city council, or we'll open the floor up. The way we usually do the floor opening is we will open the floor for those that speak in favor of, and then those who are against. Tonight, we'll start it with those who may be against the application. Is there anybody here that would like to speak? Kayla? And like all others, it would be the 3 minutes, so. We just got a huge agenda, sorry. If you can kind of keep it there.
Okay.
Okay.
I wanted to speak against it. I think this is an opportunity for Lamar to help themselves and continue to do well. The statistics I want to share with you tonight are based upon Denver and the state of Colorado as a whole. 53,293 was the number of 9/11 calls that was made in the city of Denver in 2018, out of a total of 169,642 calls that came in to Denver. 1/3 of the calls that came into Denver in 2018 was because of alcohol consumption. $5 million was what it costs us every year in the state of Colorado for lost productivity, healthcare expenditures, criminal justice costs. 2,035 was the calls that was made to the Poison Center in Colorado during 2015, 2016, 2017. Only 679 calls came into the Poison Center during those same years. 3 times the amount of calls came into the Poison Center for alcohol. 35% is the increase in the death rate from alcohol liver disease in Denver County between 1999 and 2017. Liver disease is going down to where it is affecting many of our younger people in their teens and 20s. This was unthought of years ago, but now it is becoming so prevalent that many of our young people in the vital part of their life are now being destroyed by this. 5 deaths every day here in Colorado can be contributed to alcoholic consumption. Dr. Julie Taub, who is the Denver Health, she says statistics suggest that if you die of an alcohol-related cause, your life has been likely shortened by an average of 30 years. 38% of the driving deaths in Denver involve alcohol, where the national average for the other states is 29%. We're at 38%. 36% of Denver Health ER visits are due to alcohol-related problems. And this causes them some problems in that sometimes they cannot get other people into the Denver Health ER because it's somebody there who is an alcoholic or who's had a drinking problem, and they have to stay there until they're sober, which takes up needed bed space. 80% of the domestic violence perpetrators who killed their spouse or their partner in Colorado in 2018 had a history of alcohol or drug abuse. 14,965 was the number of ambulance transports by the Denver Health Paramedic Division in 2019 due to acute alcohol intoxication. Roughly 15% of the total annual call volume was coming in with alcohol. Operations Lieutenant Michael Morris with the Paramedic Division of Denver Health and Hospital Authority says, people on alcohol don't follow commands. They get frustrated. They vomit. They spit on you. They lose control of bodily functions. They create small hazmat scenes in an ambulance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anybody else who would like to speak against this application? Seeing none, is there anybody who would like to speak for this application? In favor of? Could you? Would you like to come up and speak to the council? Why are you being shy back there? Would you come up with her? State your name and
Hi, I'm Melissa Falan. I'm the owner of Lupita's. I'm a native of Lamar, Colorado. My family and I, we just recently moved back to Lamar 4 years ago. And here we are. We opened our restaurant. We started it with my father-in-law's help. He passed away from COVID. And so right now it's just kind of my family that is kind of doing it right now. So I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. I'm lost.
that's okay. When did you open?
I opened almost 2 years ago.
Right.
So, I mean, I hear a lot of people whenever I go to Walmart, oh, your food's so good, you know, because I'm always stuck in the kitchen that I rarely, well, I mean, I go and check on everyone, you know, and so when they see me, they're like, oh, I went in there and your food was so good. Can't wait to go in the next time and try a skillet, or like Miss Williams, her husband loves the birria, and, you know, it's just my way of getting to people is through food, you know, and I don't know, I enjoy it. And I enjoy making the people in my community happy with my food. So I thank you guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anybody else who would like to speak in favor of this application? Okay. Any comments from the council or questions from the council for either individual?
I don't have any.
Okay.
I know it's very good food, very good atmosphere and everything, and we enjoy going there for dinner.
Anybody else?
Is this a full liquor license?
It would be.
Okay.
Okay, so we would need to, I will close the floor for now. We would need to move out of public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to move out of the public hearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
All right, we are now out of the public hearing. Oops. Can you go back or no? Nope. Maybe not. You can go to the back. Nope. That's okay, we'll work
Well,
out.
I apologize. I went one step too far, so.
All right, so the next item on the agenda would be to make a decision on this, take action. Do we have any questions from the council?
I move we approve the liquor license.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the liquor license for Melissa Falon, DBA La Lupitas. Any final questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. And the motion passed unanimous. One thing I would like to ask is, or say, I know that with COVID, you had opened shortly before COVID began. And generally, we try to do our breakfasts, our council breakfast, where we try to meet once a month at different locations without the city. I know tomorrow we're doing the one for McDonald's. I would love to schedule a time with you for our next one in the future. So either myself or Brenda will get a hold of you to try to schedule that for our next one, if that's okay with you. We would really appreciate that. Any other questions for the council? All right, we will move forward with the agenda. Next on the item on the agenda is a presentation of Vail Board plaque to Miss Jo Jaidon.
So, Joe was one of the early members of the Vail Board. I believe he served just under 28 years on the Vail Board. Did a lot of good things for our community, a lot of good things for victims in our community, and also for the police department itself. Unfortunately, we had to put this off for almost 2 years before we could get him his plaque. We had 2 plaques made, the Vail Board had 2 plaques made. Where'd she run off to? We had two plaques made. One we're going to give to Sue, his wife, and the other one we're going to display in the city complex. Just how amazing of a guy he was, and all the good things he did for our community through those 28 years. So it's just a little way of us telling Sue and Joe thank you for the time he put into our community. And if you want to come up, I'll give you a plaque.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, council members, Vail Board members, chief, and mayor. Thank you so much for this presentation in honor of Joe. He loved Lamar. We all did. He loved being on the Vail Board. It's always for the victims. And he was that way in his personal life, his insurance business, being the county coroner. He just was one man that always had a true heart for everything. And I know that there's many, many people that would agree with me on that, even though I was married to him for almost 58 years. But thank you ever so much for bestowing this honor to him.
He was an amazing man, and we thank him for his service.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, we had a request to have a few minutes to talk to the council. This is an informational discussion regarding the marijuana ballot initiative by Terry Sanchez, Director of Operations at Herbal Garden LLC. He is one of the individuals that helped to put the item on the ballot for the November election. Did you want to add anything, Linda, or before we move forward?
Other than they stepped up, they did what they needed to do to get the ballot questions going with the petitions, and they're moving forward.
Okay, let's switch that. So we wanted to give them an opportunity to talk to the council today to discuss what their intentions are as far as their campaign over the next few weeks, and what the intention is of their businesses. Now, as a council, of course, we've said this from the very beginning that we are staying neutral on this. It will be the vote of the people. Whichever, we are taking steps in the meantime to do, we have a committee that was created to learn more about what it will take to manage this if it does pass. So we are trying to be proactive and trying to take the steps necessary if this does pass. But at the same token, if the city of Lamar votes no, then we will respect either decision that they make. Now, we did invite him here to talk to the council tonight, and if there is anybody that is against this on the ballot and would like to talk to the council at the next meeting, I would leave that open for them as well. So, Terry, would you like to come to the podium and talk?
Thanks for allowing me this opportunity, Mayor, council members, Linda. Chief Florioso sends his regards, by the way. Want me to tell you hi. My name is Terry Sanchez, as you mentioned. I am the the Director of Operations for a company that owns and operates 3 marijuana dispensaries, one in Pueblo, one in Colorado City, and one in Trinidad. So we have a variety of experiences in different types of communities. We also have grow operations, extraction facilities, etc. The group that came together to do this has never been involved in the marijuana industry before. We have doctors, we have lawyers that are part of our ownership. I come from healthcare. I ran ambulatory surgery centers and surgical hospitals across the southwest portion of the country. So we all come from a business background, and I think first and foremost people need to understand, and then some learn the hard way, especially in the beginning, that this is a business. We're not just selling pot. You know, for example, in my stores, you're not allowed to be high at work, period. And if you are, you're not going to work for me anymore. So we are running a business. We're just selling a different widget, basically, is what it boils down to. So as Linda mentioned, we did get involved in community outreach. We knocked on a lot of doors. Mayor, I know you met with a couple of folks that work for me in Trinidad. And got the signatures that were required. That was a process, to say the least, but we stuck to it and got it there. And the reason we did that is not because we want to bring pot into Lamar, we want to store in Lamar, we want to make money in Lamar. That's not what it's about. It's about choice. You know, we had some conversations earlier today about freedom of choice. So we just ask that you put it to the people, educate them, and make sure that they know what's really happening, and let them decide. And I'm with all the go. If it passes, great. I think that would be wonderful for this community. If it doesn't, so be it. I respect all opinions on whether you're pro or anti, and that's all there is to it, and that's where I stand. So once we got that process started, we're not campaign experts, so I searched high and low in the state of Colorado and found a person who is a campaign expert and is very familiar. Some of y'all may have heard her on the radio this morning. She did a very nice job. If not, you have a copy of that. I'd love for you to share it with your council members if possible. She's very well spoken. She's a rural eastern Colorado gal, Cindy Sobine, from Sobine Consulting. So we brought her on in July. We spent a lot of August kind of formulating a game plan and truly waiting for the numbers to be assigned. It's hard to run a campaign when you don't have ballot numbers, so waiting on the county clerk to get that process done. So once we finally got those numbers, we were able to kind of run full speed ahead, which is what we've done. We wanted to get on top of the rumor mill, basically. If you're getting your information from Facebook, I mean, everyone has an opinion, and God bless America for that, but at the same time, I want you to have an informed decision or informed information and not just someone's opinion. So I really highly encourage everybody, look at the data. Look at the data. That's all there is to it. Don't listen to Facebook. Don't listen to whatever, because we all know how that goes. So look at the data, and that's what we're presenting. We're presenting data, hard numbers. We're not making anything up. This is what it is. I'm sure the chief has probably looked into this, and you're seeing crime rates going down everywhere for the most part where legalization, we're in communities that have legalized. I had dinner with Chief Glorioso the other night, and it was funny. He said, you know, we go to bus and people are drunk and they want to fight. You know, we go, and then the guys who are standing next to him that have had a little marijuana want to give you a hug. He said, I'd rather deal with the people who want to give me a hug. So that's kind of what we're seeing in our community, and I encourage you to reach out to the city of Trinidad and see what's happened there, as well as Pueblo. Lots of good things. I'm not going to stand here and say there's no negatives to marijuana, but I would argue that legalized marijuana in a community is a whole heck of a lot better than illegal marijuana in a community. You see home growth go down, way down. You see illegal black market type stuff go down across the board. I mean, significant drops in numbers. I was just looking at some numbers before I came up here, and if you wanted to
educate yourself a little bit, go to the Colorado Department of Public Safety and take a look at what they have to say, and the numbers are all there. It's mind-boggling. I mean, you can't argue with the data. You can argue with opinions, and everyone has one, and like I said, God bless America, but you cannot argue with the data, and the data is overwhelmingly, and, there's not one person who's died because they inhaled marijuana. You just mentioned a whole bunch of people that die with alcohol. There's no comparison. The contrast is like this. So long story short, what I wanted to talk with you about is what we've done and what we're going to do or continue to do, so you have an idea as a city council what we're doing in your community. We do have ads running in the Journal. I don't know if y'all have seen them yet. We are farmers too, basically is what it boils down to. But the big message that we're trying to get across to the community of Lamar is, if you take a look at the wording on the ballot measure, the very first thing it says, do you vote to approve, I mean, not verbatim, but basically, do you vote to approve a rate increase in taxes in Lamar? So unless you continue to read the rest of that paragraph, you may not understand it. And a lot of people see that and automatically, boom, heck no, I'm not voting to increase my taxes. They need to understand it's a use tax, and I know council is staying neutral, and I appreciate that. But at the same time, I feel you need to be educated and be able to answer a question correctly if asked. So this is a use tax. It's not a tax that's increasing property taxes. It's not going to increase taxes throughout the community. If you use marijuana, you're going to pay an extra marijuana tax. If you don't, you're only going to reap the benefits of that person who is spending that money on marijuana, because that tax money is coming back into your community. Spoke with the gentleman the other day, elderly gentleman, very conservative, hardcore Christian, and his comment to me was, I'm tired of seeing cars driving straight through Lamar and not stopping. And I know you all are seeing that every single day, and Los Animas is happy as heck that that's happening right now, because they're doing things with their marijuana revenue that y'all aren't doing. In all reality, Lamar is supporting marijuana as we speak. They're putting tax money into a different jurisdiction. You're not getting anything from the people who are driving from Lamar, and we're not talking tourists and everyone else who comes through here. They're giving their money to some other jurisdiction. You're not getting any of that. And I think that's a shame. It's here. It's not going away. Why not take advantage of it? So we have to get the message out there. This is not a tax that is a wide tax that's going to affect every single person in this community in a negative way. In all reality, most people in this community probably won't be paying that tax, but they're going to get a new sidewalk. They're going to get a new police car. Talk to Chief Glorioso about how many new police cars he gets. Wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to say, hey, hospital, here's an ambulance. You do with it what you will. You're missing out. The community of Lamar is missing out on millions of dollars in tax revenue, period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And someone else is reaping those benefits. Trinidad hadn't had a fireworks show in decades. Man, you should see it now. It's amazing. People say, well, they're supposed to give money to schools and I don't see it happening. Go to Trinidad. Middle school just got $14 million in a BEST grant to remodel their middle school that was built in the 1850s that didn't even have air conditioning. Beginning of the year, kids go home sick because they're too hot. Brand spanking new building. Smart boards in every room, computers everywhere. It's amazing what happens. You need something to happen with your school logo? Piece of cake. We have the money for it. If we have marijuana revenue. So it's not just about dollars. Dollars make the world go round, unfortunately. That's how it works. We need those dollars to do what we want to do. Want some lights at your volleyball court? That's actually low-hanging fruit when it comes to marijuana money. I'm just saying it like it is. You want to do more things in this community? Absolutely. If we were to apply for a license in this community, if it passes and get one, right off the bat, I'm hiring at least 10 people in one dispensary, and if we fire up a grow operation, you're looking at probably another 10 to 15 more good-paying, benefited jobs, that are going to drive tax revenue back into this community, let alone the additional marijuana revenue, tax revenues that you're going to be seeing from that. So
that's what I want to talk with you about. We're going to continue this. We're going to run weekly ads in the newspapers. We were on the radio today. If anyone has a billboard, I'd love to use it. The thing that's a kind of a bummer is since right after the 2020 election, Facebook has changed all their rules, especially when it comes to campaigns. So there's a 6-week vetting process. We started a little bit late as we were, waiting on the ballot numbers and all that stuff. So we may not get that out in time, for this, before the election. So that's unfortunate because social media is huge. And it's very big in this community as well. We'll do the best we can to try and make something happen there. We are in the middle of wrapping up a mailer that's going to go to every single registered voter in the city of Lamar, and it's going to hit their mailbox about the same time the ballot hits their mailbox, or right in there. So all said and done, we've dumped probably $25,000 to $30,000 into this process in the city of Lamar at this point, and we're happy to do it. And we'll go somewhere else and do that as well if if that's what we feel we need to do. We'll probably end up putting another $20,000 or so into this before it's all said and done. We believe in what it does for communities, and we believe in the product. I was a registered nurse, as I mentioned. I was an administrator for 15 of those 20 years, but basically I was a registered nurse. And I have more people come up to me in the dispensaries and tell me what this has done for them than, what I did in healthcare. Granted, I was in surgery, so I didn't see them after the surgery, but long story short is, you get a lot of positive feedbacks. I had a guy come in the other day that we got taken care of and got him on some product, and he walked in, he'd had his arm blown off basically in Afghanistan. He came in and said, you know what, after I came in and worked with you guys, I took all of my 7 meds back to the VA and threw them on the counter and said, I don't need that anymore. My wife likes me again. I have a new job. I'm sleeping through the night. So this product does help people in many, many ways, not just getting high. So I think the community needs to know and understand that as well. So there's many, many positives, and in my opinion, more positives than negatives. And I'll finish up here shortly, as I know you're busy. So that's that. I would love any questions. I have one request for you. We would love to have a forum here in the community, a town hall. And we can do it on our own. We could rent a space or an auditorium or work with someone or something to do something. So we can have people from the community come in and express their concerns and ask questions and try and understand this process. First of all, the taxation verbiage in the ballot measure is hard to understand unless you're reading through it completely. We'd love to answer those questions, just so anyone who's out there listening, this is not a tax that's going to hit everybody in the community. This is a use tax. You only pay this tax if you use the product, i.e. purchasing it at a marijuana dispensary. But we would love to do this in conjunction with the council, and I know you have a stance of neutrality. I feel this is a very neutral type of a process for a city council to go through. Come and get involved with this. I think y'all may have some questions and may learn some things as well. I think no better way to show your constituents that you care about them, especially heading into an election year, the best thing in my opinion is just like, here you go, we're gonna do this for you, come in and ask your questions. We have people here who know what they're talking about, both pro and anti. And if you have questions, we're here to support that process. We want your questions answered because we value your opinion as a constituent in this community. So I would love for y'all to consider something very quick in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, we're getting there, to team up with us and let's do something together. I would love for y'all to do that, and I think it would be very beneficial. It's happened pretty much in every other community out there, is these community town halls, and I think they're important. So that's really the gist of what I wanted to talk about. I think people need to know that this is not a widespread tax. Crime doesn't go up. Actually, usage has stabilized and even decreased in many communities. The biggest problem you see in schools, my wife is a principal. The biggest problem that you see in schools is not the kids. The kids can't walk into a dispensary and buy the product. The problem's their parents. So
why do we talk about educating? How are we gonna spend some of that money and educate this community to make sure that they know what's going on, to make sure that you lock your product up, that your kids don't have access to it? I'm telling you, they're a lot smarter than I was when I was back in their age. But we need to educate the adults. The kids are, they follow what their parents do. So we need to make sure that the parents understand the severity and the concern that I have as someone in the industry about kids getting their hands on some of this product. That's not what it's meant to be, and that's not what's supposed to happen. So that said, anyone have any questions for me?
I know the Zonta Club,
That's
they
what I was-
do public forum for candidates, but they may be interested in doing one. I don't know if they were planning to.
I have not heard, but I'll reach out to them and ask.
Zonta, Zonta?
Yes, Prowers County Zonta.
Okay, can you maybe
I'll get you some
shoot me?
information.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'd love to reach out. Is that something y'all would like to be involved with at all?
Well, we could attend, or if,
Usually they have candidates and issues.
Perfect. Sir?
It depends on the date for one thing.
Right.
Are you medical and recreational?
We're not at this point. We would definitely consider being medical as well in Prowers County, in the city of Lamar. Anyway, I know the county doesn't have anything going on right now. A community like Grand Junction just passed it as well, and the county actually said, well, wait a minute, we didn't think it would pass. We want some of this too. So now the county's gonna go through and more than likely pass it. So they see the benefits, but would you prefer medical versus rec, or would you like to see both?
Well, if we're gonna have it, I'd have to see both.
Yeah. The reason that we don't is there's us as a company, a whole lot of rules and regulations on top of already functioning in one of the most highly regulated industries in the world, literally. But we do offer people with valid medical cards a significant discount on their products. So we offer, they're not spending any more money at our dispensary than they would at a medical dispensary.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions, concerns?
When we went through the ballot thing, we kept emphasizing it was a use tax. And we're being broadcast, so people are seeing it.
Right, thank you.
Anyway, we kept emphasizing strictly a use tax, not across the board tax.
Right, and Linda, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe some of that verbiage is mandatory state type of verbiage. So it's a
Yes.
challenge, and that's the same issue that you battle in other communities as well, not just the city of Lamar, sorry. But I just want to make sure that that y'all know when you're asked what to say, and that the community understands truly what this is about. But I'm really rooting for this, not only from a personal standpoint, but for the community of Lamar. I think you could do some amazing things with it. It's kind of interesting, you're having budget meetings and getting all that stuff ready. Boy, if I got something for you, make that process a heck of a lot easier.
yeah.
All righty.
Okay, well, thank you
That's
very
it.
much.
Thank you, I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item. I think these next few should go fairly quick. We have an agreement for reimbursement of education training. This is brought in by Kyle Miller, Chief Miller.
Yep.
Sorry, I got this put off to the side.
So, in order to try to encourage people to apply to become a police officer, one of the big things that is always a hurdle is the cost of going to the academy. Lance and I have worked on this for 4 or 5 months, trying to get this agreement ironed out. And basically what the city would do is we send somebody to the academy. Once their Pell Grants and any other funding that they would have, GI Bills, are utilized, the city would then refund or pay the entire amount for the academy in return for an agreement to work for us for a minimum of 2 years. It's prorated on how long they would work here, is how much they'd have to pay us back. And I'd like to get this approved. We have one in the academy right now that I would like to get the ball rolling on, so that we can get this thing taken care of.
So a couple of questions I was asked.
Sure.
What happens if they fail when they take the test?
Then
Do we
they
pay for it
reimburse us.
twice?
They
Huh?
reimburse us. So they have 3 chances to take the post-test.
Okay,
If they don't pass on the 3rd try, they have to redo the academy.
okay,
They would refund us at that point, because part of this is if they would be terminated because they can't be a police officer.
okay,
So then that would be a refund of the cost of the academy.
okay. So it would come as a refund back to the city for that.
Correct.
Okay. All right, and then the other thing that was asked is what if, oh, same thing, if they failed, if they quit, the same way, if they were to quit halfway through the academy, then what happens?
Well, it kind of depends on the drop date too.
Uh-huh.
If they quit, I'm not.
Census
entirely
date.
sure. The census date, then they're not responsible for the bill.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct. If it's after that, then they would reimburse us for the cost of the academy.
okay,
I guess not the cost of the academy, the cost of the bill, they would be outstanding through the academy.
how likely is it that we get our reimbursement back? I mean, they're unemployed, obviously, if they don't pass the
Just garner their wages.
system.
I mean, it's the same process, and if they're working for us, there's means in this agreement to garnish wages from the city to reimburse for whatever expenses if they've been working for a period of time with us. You know, it's the same as any debtor, I mean, trying to obtain, well, one, you'll have to get a judgment, and then 2, you can take that judgment and do certain things with it if you know where bank accounts are, or if you know where they're working at currently. Those are things you can garnish and potentially take action against.
Okay. Okay,
Is this the form you're using?
That's the form that we've developed, and we had an initial form that came from Employers Council, and we used that, and for the most part, it's remained in the same form. We had a few things that we've tweaked, but otherwise, it's the same.
The only thing, I think you should have a dollar amount somewhere in here.
And that's kind of
Like
the
a
hard
cap?
part.
So,
In
or
order,
cap.
we can do a cap. But whenever this all started, we don't know what the bill is until they have all their Pell Grants and J bills applied. Until the college sends them the bill, we don't know what that amount's gonna be. And that's always the tough part to put in there, is a total amount of lands, and I talked about that a couple times, but it's not gonna be a set amount for each person. It can vary based on Pell Grants and
Right.
other funding that they may have.
Does this come out of your training budget? They're getting
Yes.
trained?
Right.
So it's already worked in, you already talked to Kristen about?
It's not worked in there. This is something that we're trying this year. But I'm hoping we don't have to do this very often, is what my goal is. And we also have other avenues for training funding. This isn't gonna break my budget. And that would be my responsibility, to make sure that I don't break my budget on this.
Is there any way to determine kind of an average cap of just with no Pell Grants, no assistance whatsoever,
They
how
can-
much it would run?
The college can estimate.
Okay.
They can give you a good idea. I do it all the time.
I'm just curious if that was
The
possible.
max. Obviously, if they're, what percentage of those students that you've sent through the academy are doing room and board? Because that would be a significant, sometimes that can be almost more than the college itself.
Sure.
Are they usually driving back and forth, or are they?
I would say it's probably 50/50,
Okay.
if they are or they aren't. Obviously, it depends on if they have a family. You know, they're probably gonna drive back. If they're single, they're probably gonna live down there.
Right.
There's a lot of variables. I would say it's probably 50% due. I can tell you, prior to us doing this, some guys would get the room and board, or some people would, and then they started missing their families, so then they started driving back and forth. And that would be something that would be a question that if we're gonna pay for it, you gotta stay there.
And that's why I was asking about that cap, is for those incidental that are above and beyond, or if they do pay for room and board and then want to pay for travel as well, that, or, you know, that
Sure.
difference. So I didn't know if there's a way to cap it.
And there was a total amount, and I can't remember the amount to go to the academy.
Okay.
$12,000 is the total bill, for room and board and everything.
Okay.
For in-state to go to the academy.
Okay. So that
you
would
could
be a
just
good,
Put that as your max.
I would just put that as a max, and that way we have a cap.
Sure.
Would that make the
Or
council
not
feel
to
any better?
exceed or whatever.
Yeah, not to exceed. Does that help? Or does it not matter?
Well, I think the difficult part is not knowing the exact amount the person's agreeing to. There's a section in there about the promissory note. We've talked about that. One of the issues is they're gonna sign this agreement before we know the actual cost, which is what they're gonna be liable for. So, I mean, I think there's only so much they could spend there at the academy, so I don't know if a cap is gonna, change anything with it, but the idea is that we wanna hold them to whatever amount that they are taking out for this purpose of becoming certified. I think the agreement's sufficient. The promissory note, if we can figure a way of even executing that afterwards, which has the actual amount on there, I think that's as good as we can do. I suppose you can include a cap, but I don't know that it saves you from anything, because they're only gonna be able to take out so much anyways, and either we agree that they're borrowing that money to be repaid if they fail to attend or complete the 2-year term, or they're successful and then it's forgiven.
Now, are they considered a city employee during this time, or are they?
Yes.
So are they collecting a paycheck during that time?
Correct.
Are we withdrawing the money out of their check at that time for their cost, or are we just paying them above and beyond that?
The only time they would be repay us is if they don't succeed the 2-year, completely, they're not an employee for 2 years. That's the only time that they would have to pay that back.
So I guess that's why I was asking about the max, because if we're paying $12,000 for a person plus 6 months of, or however long for their payroll.
But this doesn't include their payment. This doesn't include what they're being paid. This is just for this.
But if they fail at the end, we would have to collect for both.
No, we're only collecting for what expenses we had in getting them certified.
You can't pay for their wages,
you
or you
can't
can't
collect
collect for the wages.
I know when I worked for Rocky Mountain, Sarah, and we did this program, and we put people through, we had a form where we'd have to fill out and ask the college, you know, what their grants were and all this, and then their final total would be down here. And that's what Rocky Mountain Sarah would pay. Do you guys do a form like that?
We will have the bill from OJC. Before we pay anything, we'll have the physical bill from OJC.
And it'll deduct what their,
Correct. And whatever
everything
that
they
amount
got.
is, the remaining balance, that's what we would pay.
okay. And so
Okay.
that's what the person that you would be hiring would be obligated to pay you back. If it's 4,000, that's what they pay you.
Correct.
Okay.
We're talking about usually a matter of weeks before you get that bill. I mean,
Ye-
in the
yes.
program.
Yeah, it's not.
So it's not
a
gonna be like,
significant amount of time.
How many people have failed to complete the 2-year time frame?
One that I'm aware of. We had one that failed to complete it. There's some that won't pass the FTO program, the Field Training Officer program. It's 16 weeks that they go through that. And that's not a very high rate of a fail rate. I don't think this is gonna happen very often. I hope this doesn't happen very often. It's just kind of ensuring us 2 years that if they do come through. I guess kind of the way I look at it is the agencies that have their own academies, they're paying for that. We're just using a different mechanism to pay for it. We're not paying our employees to go and train these people. We're paying a school to train them to bring them back to us.
And I think if it's a successful program, that's great. The only thing that I was concerned about is the people that quit halfway or towards the end, or the ones that don't pass, and they're on their third try, and we're trying to pass that, and they still haven't done it yet, or they've quit and went back again and tried again, and so that's where I think it can get kind of excessive if we don't have those limits, and that's why I was asking that question. So
I would never pay more than what the academy is going to cost. When I get that bill from the academy, I would never pay more than what that bill is.
okay.
So I don't think it would very rarely be the full $12,000 bill for the academy, because there's a lot of other funding mechanisms out there.
Yeah.
I guess it's hard to put a number into this thing until they've already started the academy. We could get an estimate, but to put a solid number in there, it would be fairly difficult until they have all the federal funding. Is that correct, Anne Marie? To get a final bill, they can give you an estimate, but
So the earlier they start, the easier it is to do prior to the semester starting? I mean, they could have their financial aid secure and know exactly where they are a month before the academy starts, but they have to be on it.
sure.
So how many do we have judgments for that, or that we are in the middle of collecting for that have left?
0.
0? Or any that we have that quit early or anything like that?
Yes, we had one. From my understanding, is the court documents weren't filed within the statute of limitations. So therefore, we couldn't do anything because the court documents weren't filed.
Okay.
That wasn't me.
That wasn't you.
That wasn't Lance.
Well, and it
Okay.
wasn't, our agreement wasn't where it needed to be either.
Right, there was some work on the agreement. Yes,
Right.
that's.
And we can't go
accurate.
after the wages. It's the other.
Okay, do we have any other questions for Chief?
I move we approve the agreement and allow the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agreement and allow the mayor to sign. Are there any final questions?
Just one thing, just to put the council at ease a little bit. Those cadets that are sponsored by agency, especially at Otero, tend to do a lot better than the ones who aren't sponsored because they already have something to look for
Okay.
and something to lose.
Kyle, do
So-
you work with Workforce Center also on helping your cadets go through the academy?
I don't believe, I know Sergeant Macias has talked with them, but I don't know, I know we've tried to in the past and it didn't work out. We reached out to them.
Because they do have they did have a good program. I don't know if it's still how it works.
I know we reached out to them, but if something didn't work out for us, I don't know.
They have limited funds, so it could have been just timing that you were the last people in.
Sure.
All right, so we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other final questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Okay. Next item on the agenda is provide physical facilities and animal care for stray dogs from the town of Walsh. And this is from Chief Miller as well.
This is the same agreement we have with several other towns for them to bring their stray dogs to us. They pay us a fee as soon as they bring them to us. And then then we can adopt them out or do whatever we need to. Very similar, it is the same agreement, just changing names as the previous ones that we have.
Okay. Any questions from the council?
I move we approve the agreement and allow the mayor to sign.
I reviewed it, and I don't have any issues with it. It's year-to-year contract and automatically renews.
So we have a city attorney approval. We have a motion and a second. Any final questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Joe. Unanimous in favor of?
The next item is the acceptance of Animal Assistance Foundation grant. Chief?
So there's a typo. This is an application for the Animal Assistance Foundation grant. This is just to apply for $18,500. The Animal Assistance Foundation has been helping us since 2015. The $15,000 of it is for the animal shelter manager's salary, and then $3,500 is for other programs that she uses out there. This has been a great relationship for us, and for them. We've reached out to some other shelters and rescue foundations that have really helped us transfer animals out, so we don't have dogs in the shelter for very long. And we don't have to put a lot of dogs down because we don't have nowhere to send them. So this has been a great relationship for, I hope for both of us, but for sure for us.
Okay.
Make a motion to let them apply for the grant.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to apply for the Animal Assistance Foundation grant. Any final questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Thank you.
Okay, next we have a couple of appointments to the Adjustment and Appeal Board and the Variance Board. So we'll start with the Adjustment and Appeals Board. Craig?
Good evening, council. The first one is I had a Brian Estes who was on my Adjustment and Appeals Board. He tendered his resignation because him and his family moved out of town. We have another gentleman who lives in the city, meets all the requirements. It was properly advertised, Doug Eston, to take his spot.
Okay. And we have the recommendation from the Appeals Board. What is the council's pleasure?
I move we approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve Doug Easton to the Adjustment and Appeals Board. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Okay, next item on the agenda is the appointment to the Variance in Building Codes Board. Craig?
This is Sean Lyerly, who has been on my board. His term had expired or is expiring, and so this is to renew his term expires October 1st, 2021, and this is to have him serve another 5-year term on the board.
I move we approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Sean Lyerly to the Variance Board and Building Codes Board. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Okay. Next is the award contract for construction documents for the main cafe's rehab and renovation to Form Plus Works Design Group LLC. Craig?
This is a group that has been working with us diligently. This is for construction documents that could be used to go out to bid for the main cafe. The money is available. The contract is the same contract that we've used prior. And I have talked with them, and it's to approve the contract and sign so that they can get started on the documents.
Okay, Lance, this is a previously used contract. Have you reviewed it for the details, or?
I don't have any issues with it. I noticed that it doesn't, they explicitly state in there that the abatement of hazardous materials is not included in their fees, so I just wanted to point that out.
I don't think that was covered in the grant, so we'd have to do that separate.
Right, that's a good point. I actually talked with Jessica about that specific thing, and they do not do that kind of service, and they do not provide that. So we would have to use an outside source to do that, to abate that.
Okay. And that would be part of our next presenter for a grant that she was looking at as well,
Right.
so. Okay. All right, council?
I move we approve and allow the mayor to sign.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the contract and allow the mayor to sign. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Thank you.
As a side note, it's great to see this project get moving with the main cafe. It'll be a great
They're
project.
excited, they're excited.
Yeah,
So,
so thank
and
you.
they intend to present to council 2 renderings for you guys to look at, and you guys be actively involved in some of what's going on. So when we get that far, I'll get on the agenda and you guys will have that opportunity.
Because we zoomed through this topic, but just for those that are watching, this is the first step on us being able to do the work on the main cafe building. So
Correct.
as this first step, it'll give us some conceptual drawings and some ideas of where it's going to go, and we can start to apply and get more details as we move. So
Correct. Thank you.
thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is a Dolly Ready grant application. Ms. Morgan Alba will be our Community Development Director. We'll discuss this grant application.
Good Good evening, guys. Okay, so this is going to be one of our first grants that we apply for the main cafe project. It's a $150,000 grant, and it would be a 1-to-1 match ratio. So we would have to come up with the other $150,000, which we have discussed is going to come out of our URA, if you guys would approve that as well. This grant supports the funding of the projects that'll include plans, construction programs, and capacity building. And all the qualification or requirement of this grant is that in the end product, it'll create jobs. So we are a really good fit for this grant. And I just would like your permission to apply.
And we were just looking for any and all sources of grant funding that we can find to help assist on this project, because it's such a vital project. So even though it's a 1-to-1 match, it still doubles our money. It's extra $150,000. And we have been saving up our money in the URA grant fund, or the URA fund. So we do have at least 150 in there to do the match, if not, well, more. And we'll get additional funding out of that in the upcoming year as well.
Great. There are extra grants to apply for also on top of this one. So
right.
I think we are moving in the right direction with this project. And we're kind of getting ourselves in a position where we can start applying for the grants because we're getting the cost estimates.
Okay.
Make a motion to apply for the grant.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any final questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Thank you, Morgan.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is appointment to the Water Advisory Board. We had Robbie Better that was going to discuss it, but since Pat's here, I thought we'd let Pat do that, since Robbie's not here. Mainly, I just wanted to bring you up and put you on the spot. Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So, Jim Lyric actually declined to run another term on our water board, so we had
Brad Young.
Brad Young, yeah. Was drawing a blank there for a minute. I had Brad, but I didn't have the Young part. So he actually applied. The board did approve his application, so with mayor's and the council's blessing, we'd love to bring him on board.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve Bradley Young to a 5-year term. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
And the next two are both for the Lamar, or the Southeast Colorado Regional Airport Board. So that'd be, we have to do them separate?
Could we?
Okay, we'll do them separate. So if you'd like to continue on?
All right, so we had an opening, basically it was Shane Woolert who stepped down from the board. And so there's about a year left on that term, and Race Cohen had put his application in, and the board also approved him to take Shane's position for another year. So we'd love to bring him on board the airport board with the council's blessing as well.
Make a motion to accept appointment.
Second.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Next item was another appointment to the Airport Advisory Board.
So this particular position was vacated by Peter Page. And so this is a full 5-year term that's, the board voted to give Scott Reed a shot at it. So we'd like to bring him on and have a full board again out there, so.
Make
So
a
moved.
motion to accept Scott Reed on the airport board.
Okay.
Pat, you said the board voted for Scott Reed on that one?
We did, yeah. and
Okay.
The board took a vote on it, and actually, Dean Reed, the chairman, actually signed off on it. You'll see the last page in your packet there, so.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to approve Scott Reed. I worked with Scott Reed, so I will abstain. Are there any other final questions? All Right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
So unanimous in favor of, with Mayor Crispin abstaining.
Okay. Moving on to the next one. American Rescue Plan Act grant for Southeast Colorado Regional Airport. Pat?
So the FAA's reached out to me about last month or so ago, and they're offering this grant to us, the amount of $32,000. And basically, it can be used for airport operations personnel, cleaning, sanitation, janitorial services, and combating the spread of pathogens at the airport, and as well as debt service payments. So, I mean, I think staff recommends we ought to accept it, if nothing else, to offset operational costs at the airport.
Can we use this for that self-serve fueling?
Well, Joe, you just went to the, is that
But
something we
usually
could use that
capital,
for?
you
So-
I'm sorry? Usually you can't with capital?
Not
Okay.
with this money,
Oh.
you couldn't, but we can
For
find
the
out. This
American-
one, this is the same thing we got last year, and we used it for the utilities. It paid all of the utilities for 2020.
Okay.
So, but it wouldn't let us use that one for capital, so I don't know. We could do some research. I'm
Well,
not
if we were to
sure.
shift funds, pay the utilities and shift those
Right,
utility
it shifts
funds,
those and makes those
then
available.
it's the same
So
thing, yeah.
But I think it had to be something for operations.
Okay.
It was specific.
I mean, if
for-
you borrow
for
the
this
money
one.
for it, you could call it debt service, but not saying that's what we do, but.
And-
Right.
and,
But you made a good point. I mean, if you offset operational costs, then it just shifts that money to be able to pay for
For
something
capital,
else.
right.
And the only debt service we have right now is the truck, so if we wanted to use it toward paying off the bill truck, I guess, we could too.
Yeah.
Yeah, mainly we just need to get that self-serve fuel out there. That's why I was asking, because it's been ongoing for a year now, so.
We've got a grant sitting there.
The
waiting for us to
25,000?
spend, Yeah.
Yeah, so that was 25 of the 80, I think we guesstimated.
Right.
So, okay. All right.
Move that we approve and
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is a discussion concerning hunting and fishing on city property and a possible decision. So this was brought up by, Pat and I had this discussion. I had talked to Rick Akers about this as well, so we may ask you some questions here, Rick, because it does affect Parks and Rec. But we discussed this last meeting in a break that this was going to come to the council. We have a few areas in our city that the city owns for infrastructure. One is our recharge ponds east of Lamar, and in the past, people have used that for fishing and hunting during the hunting season. However, there's been some question on access because it is using private property to access the city property. So even if we do allow hunting and fishing on the city property, it creates a question and a problem for access on how to get to it because they have to go through private property to get to it. Now, this isn't just about the recharge ponds. This is also for our, areas such as the green belt and our the lagoons and other areas that are infrastructure infrastructure properties. They're not our recreation or our parks areas like North Gateway Park, but they are owned by the city. Now, I was going to bring this up to the council and just say, do you want to allow this, yes or no? But I did receive an email last week from Kevin with the Division of Wildlife, where he had offered to Colorado Division of Wildlife has offered to lease the hunting rights on the city property for $4,995 a year. So he would be, the Division of Wildlife would be willing to pay that to the city of Lamar to allow hunting on that area. However, we get back to the same issue of how do you get in there with
Wouldn't
the
they
private.
make the accessibility to it? I mean, if it's leased out that way, and then they would also then police it and put out, mow it where it needs to be mowed, put out trash cans, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, they've always policed it over the years, the 30 plus years I've been here, they've always went out and policed it. So
Now
there
they're just
was-
gonna pay us to do it?
Kind of sounds like it, but I think we still go back to the issue of access. So you got private ownership all the way around it, and there's several different people that own it or lease it. I'm not sure that the DOW has authority to go in and say, hey, we're gonna come across your property.
Has
So-
any discussion with them been on that? I mean,
Well-
would it be their burden to have to create the access?
Yes.
That would be my recommendation, that maybe DOW or even the city or whatever could go have discussions with those landowners and see if they would entertain that thought. But I know one of them in particular has expressed his concern over all the assets he has out there and the value of his livestock and people driving through it that he don't even know and issues that he's been having. So over the years, off and on, that property's been open, and then somebody comes along and leases it, and the gates get locked, but we've always had our access as far as the city to go in and out and do what we need to do as far as maintenance on the wells but otherwise, it just kind of has depended on over the years who's had the surrounding leases. Sometimes the gates are open, and then other times they've been shut and locked over the years, kind of back and forth, so.
So in talking to one of the people who lease the land around it, they were willing to open it up for fishing, but not for hunting, because they use it, private reserve for hunting. So there was a question there on that. They did say that they would open it up for fishing, but like I said, it's the hunting that Division of Wildlife was really wanting. So it really does kind of throw a wrench into it. I was trying to find my email so I could read that exact comment to you, but basically it's still the same. We're still in the same boat of how do we allow access to that. And not only that, but we would need to, that would set a precedence for all of our city areas. Do we let them all, or do we let just one? How does it monitor? How do we monitor it? How do we access it?
Well, wouldn't the division have to monitor it?
Well, yeah, we could
So
have,
we
we
would,
can ask
we
them
would
to
just
do
be
that.
cashing the checks, pretty much.
Can you meet up with the landowner, the leaser, DOW, and just everybody that's involved to come up with the decision on whether yes, no, or?
We could try.
There's a particular instance there in Holly. There's a good chunk of land down there that I would love to be able to hunt on, but it's surrounded by private property, and DOW has that leased out as well. And I've talked to the owners. They will not let you out there. It's like their own personal oasis and their own reserve. So, I mean, DOW does lease out properties like that where nobody else can, where the public doesn't get access to it.
Right.
In the city, in reality, really, we own really very small parcels of land out there in a sea of other privately owned properties, so. But there, I can see the value. There's good hunting value and fishing value over the years out there for even people dove hunting or whatever, but.
So he wrote, I spoke with our biologists and have a little more information. For the roughly 600 acres out there at the city property, we would be willing to offer $4,999 to lease the hunting rights for public access. Normally on a property we lease, the lease would run from September 1st to the end of February. This lease, however, would begin November the 1st and run to the end of February 2022. We sign up properties for 1 year at a time, so there would be an option to review and choose to renew for September the 1st to February 2023 and into the future. The reason why I bring that up is if the city chooses to lease it, we would need to do the paperwork as soon as possible. So I don't know if he's needing that. He was needing it on Friday, but I don't know if that's off the table or not at this point.
Yeah, and I think.
But I
if
couldn't do
were-
anything until today, so.
Yeah, if I were DOW before I think, and I'm not trying to speak for them, but I want to make sure that they felt comfortable that they could somehow get access to it, because otherwise, if they can't come to an agreement with the landowner, I don't see how they're going to get people to it.
Yeah, and
They
I
may
think
end
that's
up
gonna be the
paying
big
money
problem.
for it and not be able to get anybody down there, and one of the things Kirk and I talked about also is, like, right now, we partner with DOW at North Gateway Park, and they give us some water annually to kind of help offset our, evaporation or whatnot. And I kind of thought, well, it's too bad if we can make this work, maybe that'd be an option too, to go to them and say, hey, if you'd be willing to furnish a little water, out there for the recharge ponds, you know. So, I mean, that's kind of out there too, but
Yeah.
we're back to the access issue, so I think that's the whole thing.
So is it possible to where you and Kurt can sit down with the landowner, maybe hash that out to get access to where we can lease that out? Is that a possibility?
And you can offer to try. I don't know if they will or not, but we can ask.
Does
I
it,
think the other thing would be, is it's still available with CDOT? So I'd have to check with Kevin to see if it's still available or if it's too late. But we can inquire about it this week and bring it back to the council.
does CDOT know the landowner cut off access?
Division of
I think
Wildlife.
so, yeah. Division of Wildlife, yeah. I think so, yes.
I think we should let them try to see if they can get
To me, that'd be
accessibility.
up to them to negotiate right away.
I'd like for them to go to the table and talk about it.
It may be wise to go to the assessor's office first and see if there's access through there already. I mean, there may be the access county road or something, or already went through it, other than, you know, the landowners working it out. If they already have access, then you're not able to be back.
I've been told they've already researched all that and there's no access. It's all privately owned. There's no county roads through there.
And did we go to the assessor?
Went to the assessor and actually talked to Mark Dornkamp as well, and he says those are not county roads. So, but I mean, DOW is, I mean, if they want to take the ball and run with it and see if they can, if they know something otherwise, or, but
Okay. Well, I can make the calls and see if we can find any more information.
It may be that they lease
If
from
it
them.
dies, it
also.
dies.
I mean, you know, if they have the funding to lease from them,
Right.
so then at least the landowner feels like, well, they're not just running through, but they're actually leasing access, so.
Okay. Well, we can continue to work on that then and just leave it for now.
all right.
Is that what we want to do?
Yes.
Yep. Table it till after we review it. Okay. The next item on the agenda, Rick Akers has brought in the naming of the new naming guidelines for the new soccer fields and a discussion that he had with the rec advisory board. Rick?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council. What this is with the completion of the 2 new soccer fields out there at Escondido, or close to, at least the grass is all planted, let me put it that way. We have been approached if they could name those 2 fields. Now, part of the guidelines, as you can see on there that's attached, is in order to do that, they need to come to the rec advisory board, and they had to have made a significant contribution. That's one of the requirements, and they met that. Both of these entities have agreed. Now, the city has not received any money yet, but that's just because we haven't sent the bill to one at Indian, and we're working on the other. But they have agreed that they would submit significant contribution. And by significant, we're talking in the $50,000 to $80,000 range. And so they did come to the rec advisory board. We were supposed to meet last Monday, but we didn't get a quorum, so as you can see, we did a phone poll, and I attached the phone poll, and it was unanimous to allow these 2 entities to name the field, and so we're bringing that to council now, as we're required to do, for council to say yes or no, and if that's the case, then I'll get with the entities and let them name the fields.
And I will be abstaining since I work with Community State Bank, so.
You know, you have to abstain too.
And Anne Marie probably should abstain since she works with Lamar Community College, so. we'll leave
I would
it.
like to make a motion to approve the request and allow the naming of the fields.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Are there any final questions?
Is that grass or sod?
Saw it.
I drove out there and it looks good. It really looks.
It looks really good, yes, it does. And if you've seen the piece on the west side, it looks a lot better than the piece on the east side.
Yeah.
That's because it was laid sooner. So it's been down a little longer, but it looks great.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Jerry.
Oh, my God.
So we have unanimous in favor of with Mayor Creston and Councilmember Crampton abstaining.
I will notify the two entities. Thank you.
Okay, moving on is the, to accept CIRSA's 2022 Property Casualty Preliminary Contribution Renewal quote. Margaret Saldana is here. She is our HR manager. Margaret?
Okay. Good evening, council. So the first agenda item is the property casualty. And as you know, this is the time of year that we start looking at getting those renewal quotes from CIRSA. And all of you know that CIRSA is the city's property and liability insurance carrier. All of you should have this quote in your packet. The quote that we've received from CIRSA is for coverage effective January 1st, 2022 through January 1st, 2023. And it is $536,990.07, while the city paid $498,088.29. For some reason, I can't read those numbers in 2021. So there was an increase of 6.52% in the property casualty pool, and the commentary explains how they arrive at the XMOD increase. Our factor, I believe, was 1.18. 6.2% is not bad, and so if you look at again, at this page, there are some loss control credits that you'll see. We had a balance of $9,070, and then a balance remaining from prior years, which totals $23,325. So if we apply those loss control credits, it brings that quote down to $513,665.07. And so my recommendation is that we authorize the mayor to sign the 2022 property casualty quote, accepting the $1,000 deductible, and then also allowing the mayor to use those available loss control credits towards the quote for 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any final questions?
You got that budget?
Yes.
The 513 or the 539?
I did this full 6%. I did 6%.
Okay.
Okay. Any other final questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Okay. Next item on the agenda was accept CIRSA's 2022 Workmen's Compensation Preliminary Contribution Quote. This was brought in by Margaret Saldana, the HR manager, and the acting interim administrators.
Okay, so same process, CIRSA is our workers' comp carrier. This coverage is for 2022, and I want to apologize, there's 2 typos on the commentary on the, it should read 2021 for the 2022. It says the quote received from CIRSA for coverage effective January 1st, 2022 through January 1st, 2023. The total city's contribution amount is $183,952 for 2021. That should read 2022. While the 2021 was $148,097. And then down also under the recommendation, it has the wrong year. It should be 2022. So our quote did increase for workers' comp by 24.21%. All I can say is that we had some increases in payroll, right, Kristen, with the airport, bringing on the airport staff. The second page, again, we have some loss control credits that total $26,606. from 2021, we were awarded $12,651, and then we had $13,955. We typically don't apply that to the credit. We reserve that for safety awards and for safety requests. And so it would mean that our quote would remain at that $183,952. So I'm recommending that we accept and authorize the mayor to sign the quote and not use the available loss control credits on this particular, on the workers' comp quote.
Okay, council?
You had no choice. I'm making a motion that the mayor sign it.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to allow the mayor to sign it and give the discretion of the available loss control credits if needed, is what it stated on the recommendation. Are you good with that?
Yeah.
On your second?
Yep.
Okay. Are there any final questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Okay, next item on the agenda is to approve CHP's quote and funding of the health and dental insurance premiums for 2022.
Okay, I'm so excited because this is for the county health pool, health insurance pool. We did not have a very significant increase, only a 3%, only on the medical. Our dental and our voluntary vision plans were not impacted, so I think this is really good. Yeah, I'm very, very happy and pleased with it, so I hope you'll accept and authorize the mayor to sign the 2022 employer options. On the very back page of your packet, I did a little bit of overkill with giving you a lot of information. I gave you the whole packet, but this gives you the breakdown for the city and the employee, the payroll amounts that they'll pay each month, and also what the city's contribution is. As you remember, the city pays 75% of the premium, the employees pay 25%, and there's a comparison from 21 to 2022. A lot of
Now,
numbers.
was there any change to the service or the coverage to the employees this year?
No.
No change in the price,
No.
no change in the coverage,
No
nothing?
change,
No
I'm
change
recommending
whatsoever?
that we stay the same with the two plans that we have, the same, so it would be, the employer options would be the two health plans, the two dental plans, the vision plan, and that we would also leave it employer choice, and which would mean that employees can pick and choose which benefit plans to enroll in, and that's it.
Okay.
I make a motion to accept and authorize the mayor to sign the 2022 employer options.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept and authorize the mayor to sign. Are there any final questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda, we will have Martha come up to talk to the council. This next item is the approval of the memorandum of understanding and possible contract for the city by app.
Good evening, everyone. So we are at the finish line of launching our citywide app. Yay. So we finalized the MOU with all the entities and we secured funding completely. I had submitted the MOU without signatures as it took a little bit of time to collect, but we got them all. And so all I need is for you guys to approve the MOU so the mayor can sign it. And also I had our city by app contract updated because we were going to do it a different way. And so we got everything updated with the Tabor restrictions on there, and the locked-in rate of $17,500. So.
Per year.
Per year, yes.
So on the City by App page that we have in our packet,
Yes.
it's showing, still shows Powers County and the bill to, as well as PEP, Chamber, and City.
Yes, I just got the updated contract today. So,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't send it
Now,
to
is that the
everyone.
only change that was in it, other than the addendum?
So we got it to build to us, so City of Lamar, and then it just had that, Tabor, thing in there. So we
And has
could-
Lance looked at that, or the
I
updated one?
haven't sent it to him yet, so it's basically the same thing, it just had those two changes, so.
So, and I spoke to the attorney for the City by App individuals and expressed the reasons why we had that appropriation addendum to it, because it was a multi-year contract and the city can't enter into multiple year financial commitments without some sort of appropriation or proper termination clause. He understood that and relayed that to his representatives or his clients, and so they signed the addendum. I guess I haven't seen the portion of the app or the contract which deals with the Tabor piece, but I think the addendum is sufficient. I can review any portion of the contract that's changed since my last review of it, but.
That's what she has there. Okay.
Yeah, those were the only two things that changed, so I can send that over to you. I got it pretty late in the day, so.
Okay, that's fine, and I can look at that tomorrow.
So we could, my understanding is, you've already reviewed the MOU. You helped design the MOU between all the parties. So we could approve the MOU and the contract pending attorney's final review.
Yeah, that's fine.
Would that work?
I think that's appropriate.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
And how long would it take to get the app going, do you
He
think?
said 180 days, so it'll go into next year.
So the first
So
of the year,
early,
we would
yeah.
start the year with the new app.
Yeah,
Okay.
so 3 to 4 months, he said.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve the MOU and the contract for City by App pending attorney's final review. Are there any final questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Thank you.
Okay. All right, the next item is, we're getting down to the wire here, last few. Thank you for hanging in here. We need to award the bid 41-017 for financing of the 2021 Pierce fire truck and allow the mayor to sign a lease agreement upon review of the city treasurer and city attorney. Kristen?
So we went out for bid for the financing, as the commentary states. We got 2 bids back by the designated time. There, in my mind, was an obvious winner. The JN Bank bid 2.54% interest, with the overall cost being significantly lower than Community State. So my recommendation is to award the financing of the fire truck to GN Bank. And as soon as they get the go-ahead, they will get me the final copy of the contract. And I would ask that in the motion, you allow the bearer to sign that upon the city attorney and my review. Please.
Okay. Do I need to abstain on this? Okay, because we're not winning. Okay, did you?
So moved.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
And a second to approve and allow the mayor to sign. Any final questions?
With
Approval of
The-
agreements.
yeah.
of
With
city
the
attorney.
final approval of the city treasurer and the city
Yes.
attorney.
yes.
Okay, we'll add that to that. Any other final questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Thank you.
Okay. Exciting one here at the very end. Well, it's not real exciting, but it is something that we need to cover. Brymark Builders and Cobblestone, we had approved their incentive agreement last year We came back and extended it for 6 months because they were still in progress. Over the last couple of weeks, they have signed the contracts, they're getting the money in, they're getting everything moving, but the terms of our incentive agreement are a little bit vague in the fact that it says, upon commencement of the work. What does a commencement mean? What does that detail? So they sent us this letter, Brymark Builders, detailing what they are doing for commencement, basically doing the pursuing substantial, working on this. They're doing the actual groundbreaking ceremony. They have the contractors in that have been doing pressure tests of the water lines. They have the surveyors working on this, but it's not actual groundwork. So what they are asking for isn't so much about extending the actual commencement date as much as it is about the end date. We have an end date that states, let me get that exactly, in good faith and diligently pursuing substantial completion within a commercially reasonable time frame. That leaves it wide open, and they are basically asking if they can get a 6-month extension on the end of the contract just to ensure that they will have enough time to complete it in case there are any delays such as additional COVID, additional shutdowns, things of that nature. Because this is a very big part of their financing package is to have this incentive agreement. So we would be doing an incentive modification request for Brymark Builders. The council would authorize Anne Marie and myself to sign this to acknowledge the receipt of this correspondence. I know Lance probably hasn't had a chance to look over this letter, or have you?
I haven't, and I'm just curious, this letter itself, are we trying to attempt to amend the agreement without doing an amendment to the agreement, or?
They're just trying to explain that they are commencing with the project. They are starting the project to start the clock, and then letting us know that they would like to have, that they would be working in good faith to get it a substantial completion. So they were trying to clearly define that. What is that meaning of substantial completion?
It's been a little bit since I've looked at that incentive agreement, so I guess I would like a chance to look at that.
Because the incentive agreement states substantial completion being an occupancy certificate. So rather than, having it ready for occupancy review or in the middle of the final phase, it just gives that option, and that's what they're looking for is an extension on that, if needed, so I'm not sure how they worded that in here. In good faith and diligently pursuing substantial completion within a commercially reasonable time frame is what they're asking for that verbiage rather than an occupancy certificate.
I guess, like I say, it's kind of odd to do it through a letter and not through, like,
Amendment.
formal amended, or modification to the agreement to clarify what terms they want to have changed. Because I'm pretty sure they signed the previous incentive agreement.
So the reason why this letter came is in our discussions with Tim Shevchuk. Were you on that call with me with Tim? I can't remember. We were trying to figure out how do we determine what is the commencement date and what's the actual start date. And we suggested having them give a letter based upon the contracts being signed between Lamar Hospitality LLC and Brymark Builders and the engineers, all signing the contracts and making all of their deposits as well as, and so we couldn't see that contract being signed, but their attorney sent us this letter verifying that that had been done, as well as scheduling all the other things to show the commencement. So I'm okay with doing either one. I just want to, I guess, however we need to do this, what they're looking for is understanding that the council is willing to work with them because they don't want to lose this incentive agreement, and their investors don't want to be left hanging and at the last minute we pull the rag out from them on a project this significant. So that's mainly what they're looking for. If we need to reword this or if we need to make the modification as an amendment, we can do that.
I would like to see it as an amendment to the contract. I understand their position wanting some clarification on dates and maybe some extensions on other things. I guess I would like the opportunity to possibly create the extension agreement or whatever you want to call it, just amendment to the original agreement. And I can take this into consideration for what they're looking for. But I think that if you want to have a legal agreement, incentive agreement, that you'd want to amend it from that perspective rather than just a letter outlining what they would like to see or what they'd like to have the council agree to. And again, it's been a minute since I remember that incentive agreement was issued or agreed to, and so I'd like a chance to look at that again, just to be sure on some of the language that they're using and what we're using and compare that.
So we're still wanting to do this, but we just want to put it in a better context.
Yeah, I mean.
Till we get approved to work with them, but, I mean, I guess they're trying, they don't want to do the groundbreaking tomorrow unless they know that we're gonna be doing this, because their investors are saying, are they gonna pull the rug out from us?
Well, I mean, I think the council could give me some direction that they want a more formal agreement put in place, but using that as their basis, using that as the basis of the modifications to the original agreement.
Okay.
I like that, yeah.
Okay, so that would kind of meet both requests.
I think it clearly indicates that we're trying to work with them on this. I mean, I don't think that we've done anything but work with them on this, so I don't know why they have any indication that we would stop at this point.
Well, I think the last time we did and where this is coming from is the last time we did the extension, there was some concern on it by the council that we keep extending this and they're not doing anything, and a little frustration from that. So I think that's where their concern was, is that how much frustration was it? But it doesn't seem like there's anybody is wanting to prevent them from getting this. It's just, we need to do it.
I would like to see a
Formally.
more formal
Okay.
agreement.
Okay, so how would we want to verbalize that in a motion?
And the agreement with the city attorney's review.
Okay. How did we word that a second ago?
Well, I think what you do is say that, that the council's in agreement with that, so I think that you just use that as the basis for creating an actual agreement. So you're gonna approve it, pending my creation of the document, I guess, following that,
A formalized document for,
for that, following the instructions or the language used in that letter.
okay.
I'll make a motion to that.
They're groundbreaking. The groundbreaking's not till the 6th is what it says, right?
Right, the 6th, yeah. So we can get that arranged between now and then. Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
Yeah. I'm sorry, who made the motion?
I did.
Ralph,
And seconded?
Me.
and did you get the motion? You have it on the tape?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second to do the extension depending on the verbiage for Lance, city attorney. Are there any final questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Okay. All right, are there any miscellaneous items? We do have one miscellaneous item that we wanted to talk, or I was gonna mention. One of the last meetings, one of the council members had brought in a proposal to rename a street. And we do have a resolution set up for that, to bring it to the council for review for the street renaming. And I just wanted to bring this up for the council to express any concerns before I bring that in, or ask any questions before I bring it in at the next meeting. Is everybody aware of which one I'm talking about? Yeah. Commercial streets. Yeah. Renaming. Okay, any questions, concerns?
I would just like to see them come up here
And they would actually be here next meeting. I didn't want to invite the family, along with bringing in the resolution if there were concerns within the council that we needed to discuss beforehand. So I thought I would bring that up tonight and give us all the opportunity to talk a little bit in an open forum before we invited them. That way, if we had some questions to be answered, we could do that, but.
Plus, we had a really short agenda tonight, so.
Yeah, it was really short. I figured we still had until 10.
I'm fine with moving forward with what was presented in the past about the name changing and so forth like that.
Okay. All right, so in the next meeting, I will bring that to the council, and we'll invite the family to the meeting as well. Okay, tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock, McDonald's, we will be doing the little walkthrough with the manager, and then after that, we will start the process of trying to interview our city administrator candidates. Hopefully, we get some good candidates. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Unanimous in favor of?
Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.